Good evening, Navika, and good evening to all my fellow co-panelists. Navika, you asked me a question, how do I feel? Let me answer it. I feel both proud and perplexed at the same time. Now, please give me a couple of minutes to explain why is that. The first issue, why I feel proud. Navika, there's no doubt about it. The Central Vista, as I see it, looks even more appealing than it did before. And a large part of this has to do with the fact that we have our beloved Netaji Subhash Bose looking over the proceedings. It has taken 75 years. I can't believe it. It has taken 75 years for a nation to honor one of its bravest, if not the bravest modern Indian. Let me be clear. We did not win independence because the Sabarmati ka Sant delivered it to us without sword or shield. We won it because Netaji and his INA sent shivers down the spines of those Brits, who anyway were petrified by the naval mutiny and besides were exhausted and bankrupt because of World War II. And frankly, it is painful that everything that Modi does or proposes has to be opposed by the Congress and the left. This is especially so because of their objection to honor Netaji. Yaar, ispe kya problem hai? But then it doesn't surprise me anymore. Let me give you just 4 facts quickly that will expose these irrational dynasty doormat dunderheads. Number 1, did you know that the communists have always sneered at Netaji Subhash meeting Hitler, even though they eulogize Mao, who killed 63 million of his own people? Did Netaji meet Hitler? Yes. But did he also condemn the atrocities committed on the Jews? Yes. Fact is, he was so singularly tormented and obsessed with India fighting for its freedom that nothing else mattered. The end justified the means. Number 2, and while Netaji was fighting for our freedom, the founder of the Communist Party of India, one Mr. Dange, was writing groveling mercy petitions to the British to release him from jail, saying he swears allegiance to the king. 3, did you know that the Congress and Nehru snooped on Netaji and his family for 2 decades, even after independence? What can be more treacherous than that? Now for the most cruel and devastating fact, Navika. 4, did you know that the first time the Indian National Army veterans were asked to take part in the Republic Day parade was in 2019. In 2019 under Modi was the first time. This is how these people have respected Netaji and his amazing army and their contribution to our nation. And now they have the temerity to object to the nation honoring him like the way it is. Left to them, they will bring back the statue of King George from Coronation Park and place it back under the canopy in front of India. Again, Navika, now the second thing, perplexed. Let me be very straight. It is all very well that the Prime Minister has very beautifully, I must say, encapsulated how we are getting rid of the colonial legacy. He gave 5 or 6 examples. But I ask this straight up. The biggest, most torturous colonial legacy that there can ever be, that those people who killed 35 million of us, manufactured 12 devastating famines, left our life expectancy rate at 32 years, looted 45 trillion from us. Those very people constituted a Commonwealth, and India is still a member of the Commonwealth. What can be more humiliating and a mark of colonial legacy? So I ask this question to Prime Minister or his representatives. If you want to get rid of something, this should be the first thing to get rid of, that India gracefully moves away from the Commonwealth. Navika, let's get one thing straight, that defense, science and space programs, they span decades and across governments. And so every government should be credited, like for Tejas and Chandrayaan and Arjun and Mangalyaan or vaccine research. You know, don't bring politics into science, because then all you'll end up with is political science. The problem comes when the Congress takes it to extreme. They don't need to, and that is what is needless. So every time India under Modi accomplishes something in science, technology, defense, space, they start crediting Nehru for it. Nehru built this, Nehru built that, this is because of Nehru, that is because of Nehru. अगर हम सांस भी ले रहे हैं तो वो नेहरू जी की देन है. I'm sorry, but it is absurd to credit Nehru for everything. Of course, he was great, he did some great things, but please don't credit everything right now to him. Might as well credit Hitler for the 1969 moon landing, for it wouldn't have been possible without von Braun and V2 technology that the Americans snatched as war spoils. Ideas need to be backed by contemporary, not historical figures. There is no such thing as historical labeling in science and technology. Great research and defense institutes and centers for excellence can crumble within years, even months. Ideas are the product of a human mind, not sanctioned buildings. I'm sorry, science doesn't live in the past. Science is in history. Second point, while it is true that every prime minister belonging to every political party that has been at the helm has contributed in a very large measure to our development in science, technology, medicine and defense. But for Congress to cry vendetta is hypocrisy personified. When was the last time they gave credit to a non-Congress government for any development? Hell, they didn't even give credit to their own leader PV Narasimha Rao for literally pulling India from the precipice. 2 गज जमीन भी नहीं दी उनको दफन होने के लिए. 3, it is also a fact that from importing 70% of defense equipment in the 1990s, we are at a stage right now where 64 to 70% of defense equipment is indigenously procured. And I'm sorry, but this has to do with the vision of one and only Dr. Kalam and his so-called iconic self-reliance index that he built in 1992, not any politician. 4, I hope this wonderful aircraft carrier will be pressed into the service of India. And not like 35 years ago, when an aircraft carrier was pressed into the service of the holidaying Nehru-Gandhi diners with our brave naval personnel forced into taking care of their every vacationing. Navika, just 20 seconds. Today is a historic day. India has joined the rank of 5 nations out of 200 that can build an aircraft carrier. We have a new ensign that incorporates our glorious naval past. Some advance to greatness, others return to it. We as Indians do both, at least tonight. I request Sanjay Jha and the Congress to stop this nitpicking and hail our incredible achievement. Something wonderful is exemplified by that. It is on this panel itself. Now, correct me if I am wrong, these 2 gentlemen, Colonel Shukla and General Bakshi, are at the polar opposites of the, if I can call it, ideological or political spectrum. But look at the wonderful camaraderie between them. So we have to be like that in matters of defense and science. Number 2, Sudhanshuji is absolutely correct. His facts about what happened in the wake of 26/11 as well as the nuclear tests. But I ask him 2 questions. Number 1, Sudhanshuji, did BJP support Dr. Manmohan Singh on the nuclear deal, yes or no? And number 2, in the event of all those horrible things that China committed in Galwan 2020, killed our soldiers, had those awful incursions and our literally going to war, why is it that our imports from China have increased to $120 billion, the highest ever? Madhav, I've been listening very patiently to all my fellow panelists, so please, I expect a courtesy of 2 minutes of uninterrupted time. Madhav, I have to say this, that finally in Yogi Adityanath and Himanta Biswa Sarma, we have ministers who are taking steps towards true secularism and not this sham variety this country has been practicing on the back of our pseudo-secular constitution. 1, how can someone object to religious schools' income sources being audited? Are we a banana republic? And if the amount as claimed by Mr. Kanungu is in excess of 10,000 crores, half of it from secret sources, this is not just an educational or auditing issue, I'm afraid. This is a national security issue. Number 2, the state has no business running religious schools. Secularism is total separation of religious and state. भाई डिक्शनरी लेके आऊं क्या, समझाऊं आप लोगों को सेकुलरिज्म का क्या मतलब होता है? Our constitution, I'm afraid, is plural, not secular. There are half a dozen articles and amendments and directive principles in our constitution that make it plural, not secular. In fact, the word secular was inserted in our preamble by Indira Gandhi during the emergency. It was absent from Ambedkar's constitution. And it is this pseudo-secularism that has allowed the state to control Hindu temples and run madrasas. In fact, it astonishes me that UP is running 514 madrasas and Assam was running 617 madrasas whose primary job was to impart Islamic education and Sharia dictats. All these schools in Assam will now be converted into regular schools. So the pupils will have a choice to either continue there and receive non-religious education like other children, or leave and join private madrasas, to which no one should have any objection, as practicing and imparting religious teachings is a constitutional bona fide right. This is a step towards promoting inclusivity, Madhav, among the minority community and should be welcomed by all Indians. Isme problem kya hai? After all, if the children were being taught verses like that haven't changed according to one panelist from 1300 years. Do not marry your women to polytheist men unless they believe in Islam 2:21, or there is no deity except Allah 40:62, or those who deny the Quran, their necks will be shackled and they'll be dragged in boiling water 40:70, or those who disbelieve in our verses, we will drive them into a fire 4:56, or polytheists are the worst of creatures 98:6. If the children were being taught all this, I hope you can see the irony that here are two states accused of being Hindu Rashtra by Muslims, teaching Muslims that Hindus are the worst of creatures and do not marry Hindus unless they convert. Well, good luck with promoting inclusivity. And finally, Madhav, just 30 seconds. Madrasas are the hotbed for terrorism, quote unquote. Who said this? No, not a Hindu, but a Muslim, Parvez Musharraf. And very finally, 10 seconds, according to one panelist who says कि भाई राम जन्मभूमि के फंडिंग में करप्शन हुआ, पहले उसको देखो फिर मदरसा का देखो. ये कैसा लॉजिक है भाई? According to that, unless we catch Vijay Mallya, then this TMC acolyte will say that Partha Chatterjee should not be investigated.